Hey, welcome back to the Star Wars Exchange. I hope you guys are having a great week. I know we are because we just got a new episode of Ahsoka, and well, there's tons to talk about. Even though it had a runtime of 35 minutes, there's still tons to talk about, dissect, and react to. And I have a very special guest this week. I'm accompanied by Darth Deacon, also known as Aeden. Aiden, how are you doing this week?
Doing pretty good. Happy with that episode, and I'm happy to be on here.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for coming on. As per usual, you hear Ari's glorious, very accented voice when you listen to one of these podcasts. It's always the first thing. Well, if you're listening on audio, you get that glorious intro, done by yours truly. But you listen to Ari's opening and stuff, and well, he's not here this week. He's sick, out with the flu and other complications and stuff like that. Whatever comes with that type of sickness sometimes. So send me your well wishes. We miss him dearly this week. And yeah, I'm sick too, as you can tell, but I'm not as sick as Ari, thankfully. So I'm trying to push through. But we're both kind of going through it in different ways. So, but Ahsoka's here, and we're here to talk about it, and we're here to do a little analysis of it and all that, and just react to it and stuff. And I'm a big Rebels fan, and Aiden, it's actually pretty cool sitting here talking to you about this because back in the day, in 2018, after Rebels had ended, you and I did multiple discussions on YouTube about which we were podcasting, but we did multiple discussions about a Ahsoka and Sabine TV series,
Yeah,
and that's what this is what this week
and we
felt like.
got it.
We got it. Like it's crazy to be here. So you were definitely a part of those videos that we did back then. Maybe I can post like clips of it from the archive and whatever. But it's just so cool talking about it. And obviously back then we thought it would be animated. We never thought it'd be live action like this. But for something, for some reason and other things, it seems to be working for me, even though I wasn't down for this live action thing as a sequel to
I
Rebels. It's working for
yeah.
me. So, has Ahsoka been working for you so far? What are your thoughts on the series so far?
In terms of being like a follow-up to Rebels, yeah, it's really delivered to me. I really like Hera and Sabine. I think they're the two standout characters in the show, kind of. Sabine is it's very exciting getting to see her grow and kind of, especially in this episode, which we'll talk about, seeing that training and the master and apprentice relationship between her and Ahsoka. And man, Rosario Dawson, me and Mike were talking about it earlier, and we were saying how Rosario Dawson's kind of really come out of her shell about the role, and she kind of seems that she was just playing the role as to a point where it was kind of blocked off, and now we're kind of getting that genuine Ahsoka that we got in the other shows.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's as you said we spoke about earlier, and I'm like, I said other things, but let's save it for the podcast so we can elaborate and divulge and all that. But I mean, you set it up. This this third episode, this third part, um, we just got a lot of good action, verbal action from Hera, and we got a lot of cool scenes with Ahsoka and Sabine. And this episode's called "Time to Fly," and it's directed by Steph Green. Steph Green? She directed last week's episode, and she directed the second episode of Book of Boba Fett. So it's cool that she's been keep coming back. And yeah, I've been really enjoying her episodes so far. So her directing style and everything. So um, Aiden, why don't you tell us your overall thoughts on this episode, and some of your like favorite moments?
I would say probably my favorite moment has to be everything in the Jedi T6 shuttle. Because man, it just everything with like the turrets and just flying. It felt like I felt like I was watching A New Hope again with the two Han and Luke on the blasters, and it just felt like classic Star Wars. I think they like the people working on this show really have a sense of what they want it to be, kind of how Mando season 1 was in that regard.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because if you remember in Rebels, there's a shot of the ghost, or it was actually in one of those shorts. It was called Machine on the Ghost, and there's it's a a really good short. It's just Hera and Kanan having this like friendly slash romantic banter, um, and just like this back and forth while they're trying to take down TIE fighters. And then Chopper is the one who delivers like the ending blow to finish it off. But there's this really cool shot where the ghost is, in the middle of the dogfight, and then you get that cockpit view, aerial view of the ghost, and it's shooting all on its hull, and it mimicked that shot from A New Hope when you get that TIE fighter dogfight scene.
Yeah.
And they did it again or Dave Filoni did it again in this episode, and I was like, oh man, that's great. I know that when he was storyboarding this, like that was first thing
Oh
he did
yeah.
was like, we got to replicate that shot again. And it's funny you bring up the T6 shuttle because I love everything that's in it and then outside of it.
I know. It's a cool ship.
I got to go back and watch Clone Wars and be like, I don't remember the ship doing that. Like, it just the wings go crazy. Like it's pretty intense. I like it. I just wish that I had turrets in the front because then it would look like a Mandalorian gauntlet. But
Yeah.
it's kind of useless having the turret in the back and just but you got to be diplomatic when you arrive. When Jedi arrive at various planets for help, they can be loading guns on on the front of the ship. They're they only can defend themselves, which defending is shooting from the back. So I guess
Sounds like some modifications are in order.
yeah, I think so. Um, so yeah, I love everything that had to do with the T6 shuttle and everything. And actually, I love this episode a ton. I think there's a lot of cool things that we got out of it, and I know a lot of Rebels fans are especially happy. But for me overall with the story, move things forward, move the plot line of the hyper ring forward, furthered Ahsoka and Sabine's relationship, where I feel like they're really gelled together in a way. Um, and I really liked everything from it. I think it gave us an interesting I wouldn't say shift in the story because I mean everyone, the last episode I definitely thought the series would go in a different way, but I feel like if anything it just cemented where it's going, but it just like solidified like its stance on it and it just made the view clear. I don't know. I wasn't too sure last week where I'm like, oh, I don't know where the series is going. I do like everything, but I'm like it could really go south from here. And this I feel like it just put like its foot in the ground being like we're doing this is part 3 we're not skipping any steps. You guys are along our ride with the characters every step of the way, and I really felt like that's what Rebels did anyway. Originally, like I feel like you could have missed a week from being with the characters, but you didn't miss anything because everything important was you were being shown on screen and everything. So even you got the day-to-day moments, them going fruit shopping and all that stuff. So I just feel like we live with the characters, and I feel that again. I feel like that kind of magic coming on with Ahsoka and Sabine sitting in the shuttle and just having like real conversations and everything. And I really, yeah, I just vibed with the episode overall, and I feel like I really like where it's going now. So even though last week was just kind of a preview and setting some stuff up, now that we're actually into the storm, it for some reason we can see clearly. So anyways. I know, I genuinely enjoyed it, and I'm actually wanting to watch it again. And I think I wasn't put off. I'm usually very put off by the short run times, and this is more on the shorter side. But I didn't mind it. Like I thought it was well paced. It was paced enough where I'm like didn't feel short, didn't feel long. It just flowed, and needed to be as long as it needed to be. So
Yeah, totally.
I absolutely vibe with it. But let's get into the discussion points here. So beginning in the shuttle, we get that like cool sequence, that callback definitely to Kanan and Sabine training on Adelon. Huang is actually training Sabine, and he knocks her down with some words again, and he's like, "Well, you could have done better." And Sabine's
Those,
like, "Well, it's been a while. It's been a while for her. It's she put that saber down, and she hasn't been back with it since. So, and she's back to training with sticks. I
yeah.
it,
Also,
I
let
would
me say, man, those training sabers that Huang Yang was carrying around, those were pretty cool. That
The
was a cool technique to see.
the
Yeah, the
holographic
hologram.
ones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was cool. Yeah, that definitely was cool. I'm always enjoying getting more of these like Jedi training type sequences, and we just
Hmm.
learn a little bit more of what it was like to be trained in the ways of the Jedi and all that stuff. So you think you see it
Especially
all, and
the
it's cool.
fact, especially the fact that it's Ahsoka's Padawan. That's kind of crazy.
I
The
there's
little connection there between
there
like Rebels and the huge, giant, broad galaxy. Because the apprentice of Anakin is now training somebody from the Rebels crew, which is super cool in my opinion.
oh, actually I never thought about it like that.
I was thinking about it before we watched the episode, and man, it's just such a cool thought to have.
I mean, I did like Huang's comment to Ahsoka of being like, you come from a very long line of non-traditional Jedi, and I'm like, oh well, yeah, her master was Anakin, but I
Hmm.
was like, oh wait, his his master, Anakin's master was Obi-Wan, and I'm like, yeah, he could sometimes he could be very traditional, and sometimes he would just have these non-traditional moments. There's things like Satine up in there and all that, very non-traditional. And if you and then obviously his master was Qui-Gon Jinn, and the Maverick of all Mavericks was I'm like, oh, Qui-Gon Jinn, and then who was his master?
What
Count
do you
Dooku.
know?
Count Dooku. So I'm like, oh right, all right, Huang, that is a good burn. So
What a family tree.
it's a very pleasant, non-flammable family tree. It'll never go down.
Yeah.
It's there solidified. But yeah, I that's funny that you say that because then we actually get a line in the episode and about that, and it's so funny. So yeah, it is cool to think about Ahsoka being a master to also someone that's a Mandalorian. Like, did Bo-Katan was
Facts.
Bo-Katan aware of this? Like, where is she? How does she play? Did she ever help Sabine teach her continue her ways in the way of the Mandalore and all that? Like, I'm curious. Like, there's just questions there, and I'm very interested to see if Bo-Katan will even show up in the series. Do you think
I
Bo-Katan will show up?
also I doubt it. I don't think that she will. But also I thought it was so interesting how Huyang was just like, yeah, there were he said that there were a few Mandalorian Jedi. Because didn't it used to be
Right.
we always just thought it was just Tar Vizsla, and that was it.
Um, I guess visually, I guess so, because that's the only one that we've seen. So I wouldn't be it far off that thinking. Uh,
Yeah.
or it's definitely a rare case. That's what I thought.
Hmm.
And then Sabine kind of shifts things up because then it's like, wait, so yeah, you're right because Huang did mention that. So who else is in the mix? Who else do we get to know and
Gotta
learn
see
about?
some more Mando Jedi.
Mando Jedi.
Toss
What
them
if
in the
Din
High
Djarin?
Republic. That'd be great.
We
Din
gotta go
joins
all.
Luke's training academy.
Oh Lord, yeah, I
Becomes
would be
becomes
interested.
the new Kyle Katarn.
I mean, leave it to Disney right now. They want the streaming numbers up. I mean, leave it to them to do something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Never know. Um, and also, it's did you notice the callback of when Ahsoka was like to Sabine, like, okay, so she blindfolds her and everything, and then she's like, ready position. Did you think back of when Kanan was training Sabine with the sticks and he kept
Yeah.
saying ready position? So I thought that was a cool
Yeah.
callback to that.
Even with the sticks too.
Yeah. What do you think Hera would have? I think if Hera saw Ahsoka training Sabine with the stick, she would have been like the way Hera poses in the show. She would have been like, I think you're holding her back. It's just, I don't know. I don't think Hera would have liked to see Sabine still training with sticks and whatever. Because man, this is not gonna be. This is the Ahsoka after show, not the Rebels post mortem talk and all that. But I just absolutely love Trials of the Dark Saber. Like, if you have
It's a great episode.
it's emotionally moving, and it has all the good drama that you want, and tension, and something like that Sabine is facing, and it's one of those moments where Rebels feels larger than life, and it's such a good episode. So I love these callbacks to Trials of the Dark Saber. All right, next we have the awesome. I was telling Aiden, I was preparing my outline for for this episode, and I had to stop and I was like, Aiden, bro, look at this, and I showed him my screen, and it was just A-wings flying by on screen, and it just looked something straight out of Rebels. And
Yeah.
when I was watching the episode, I literally like jumped out of my seat. I'm like, oh my god, that is so cool. So we get this real cool establishing shot of the Rebel lines, or I should say the New Republic, and you see those Hammerhead cruisers that were acquired in Rebels that then we see in um, Rogue One, and then we see in down the line in Rise of Skywalker, because they put every ship up in there at the Battle of Exegol. But we saw the Hammerhead cruisers again, and I thought I was like, yes, I just love seeing them now. I'm just like, yes. So um, yeah, we got to see those in the mix, and got to see blue A-wings, not just any A-wings. It was blue A-wings. That's Phoenix Squadron, or what remains of them. So obviously I was very giddy with that. It just looked directly like a shot from when the A-wings are about to confront Darth Vader. So in space. Where else, right? Where else are A-wings gonna fight Darth Vader? But well, actually, isn't it in one of the comics in Vader Down where Vader like throws his lightsaber at an A-wing?
I think it's a Y
Oh,
wing.
Y-wing. Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
Y-wing. Damn, I need to go outside more. That's such a nerd thing. Like in the comic, it was a freaking. I'm gonna leave that for yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
never mind. That's a post production thing.
Yeah.
Um. So all right. And then next we have this really big moment where Mon Mothma, the Chancellor of the New Republic, is present, and she's awaiting Hera, and she's surrounded by council members. And what's that guy's name from Resistance?
Senator Ziono. I forget his
Senator
first name.
Ziono.
Mm,
What's the Kaz?
yeah.
Kaz from
Kazuda.
Resistance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get to meet his father, and that was very interesting. Well, we met his father in Resistance, right?
For
Yeah,
a
we
little
did.
bit.
So we got to see his father in live action, which I thought was pretty cool. And we had confirmed this. They confirmed this in like press photos that or media photos that they released. That one of the guys there was Senator Ziono. So it was pretty cool just to see him. And never mind, it wasn't cool to see him because he's a douchebag. He's a
Dude, let me tell
douchebag.
you, this episode, this episode, or that scene specifically, is kind of where I started. It's just another instance where I started to see connections with like Heir to the Empire, because like Ziono kind of fills in this role that one of the characters in that book series it's Borsk Falia. He's like this Bothan senator, and he's just kind of a very power hungry and always like quick to say no to certain things, like especially with Thrawn. And also like it just feels also like there's another series called the Thrawn duology that kind of this exactly reminisces to, where they're like Thrawn's still alive and they have to go on this expedition to try and find where Thrawn is. I won't go into
Oh.
the full story because it's a little complicated, but this it feels like a perfect combination between the Heir to the Empire trilogy and then that second duology too.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's actually very interesting. I didn't know that
Yeah.
about the Thrawn duology. Interesting. Okay, I'll put that on my to do list eventually. But that's crazy you say that because I never even thought about that. I mean I read like 1/3 of Heir to the Empire so far, and yeah, I know the Bothan senator you're talking about, and
It's
we
all
need
it yeah.
we
I
need an
really hope we
Akbar
see more
character.
politics. It's one I like.
We
Why
do.
can't we just get Akbar?
We need
Why
Akbar
can't why
because
can't we just get Akbar?
in the book, the senator guy was such a jerk and very reminiscent of I guess I can see the parallel now of this guy Senator Ziono, um and Akbar would just fight with this Bothan senator, like they would tussle in the meeting quarters, or in the briefing room. They would just duke it out with each other. So we I
Give
needed
us Akbar.
give us Akbar. Or just have someone punch this Senator Ziono guy. Doesn't this
True.
Senator Ziono guy die during Starkiller Base or something? Oh, he was on Hosnian.
Yes. Yeah, he was on
He
Hosnian.
was on Hosnian. Okay. Spoilers if you haven't seen Star Wars Resistance. But oh yeah, so I guess he got what he had coming to him. Is that a little harsh?
Nah, I don't
Nah,
know.
he was a jerk. He disrespected Ezra and he disrespected Hera. You don't disrespect Mama. And Hera, she did you see how upset she got? I was like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
but I wanted her to, and it goes to show later when Sabine is frustrated, and I don't know if I guess the way I was reading it, Sabine was frustrated that Hera was bowing down to the New Republic Council. In a way, in the when they were going to the Denab system,
Hmm.
she was like, "The New Republic Council, like, what are you talking about?" Like, after Hera was like, "Oh, sorry, we can't accompany you. They denied our force or our New Republic resources to this mission." And Sabine is like, "What? What are you talking about? Like the New Republic Council?" So Sabine is probably definitely one of those people that's like, screw all the politics. I'm not with that at all. So, um, yeah, I don't know. For me, I definitely felt that if what I was reading correctly was Sabine, I was definitely reading all that, and I was just mad. I was mad for Hera. Um, I was just mad for Hera and I guess Ahsoka and Sabine because here we are once again. Like, you think that after having like 25 years almost of almost 30 years of like the Empire reigning, um, and you have this opportunity where it's like obviously as we learned in the last episode and as we all know you can't like turn a republic from an empire in a day, but it's like it's just all the cracks of the new republic are just like so glaring, and it's like
Hmm.
I get Senator Ziono being like, we need these resources for new for the people and to whatever this and that, but it's like I I wish Hera had argued the
I
case a
think
bit
I
more.
think Hera could have done a little bit better of a job.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I like that frustration where she was like, "And how do you know that?"
She gave a terrible report.
She did. She did give a terrible report. Like I was beating around the bush, but genuinely, she gave a bad report. Like
She
I was
didn't
thinking,
tell him that there's an Inquisitor involved, that Ahsoka
right?
Tano personally is
Yes,
involved in
yes,
this.
exactly. That was. I was sitting there dumbfounded because I'm like, is she not gonna say that Ahsoka is back in this? Like, remember last time in Rogue One when Mon Mothma was like,
Your special agent Fulcrum, whom you
"Ri-
contacted.
"Oh, right, exactly." I forgot about that connection as well. But you remember in Rogue One, Mon Mothma was like, "Your friend, the Jedi." It's like you could have had a Mon Mothma Rogue One moment just like that if you had mentioned Ahsoka's name.
Yeah.
So that was a little frustrating for me to sit through. Where I'm like, and especially after Hera like literally interrupted a council meeting just like that on Yavin 4 in Rebel Season 4 after they
Yeah.
were denying resources to Lothal, and she went in there's like, I'm gonna have a word with them. And she pushed through and got in there and was like, listen, I know where, and they're like, "Hey, General Syndulla. That was Battleground. General Syndulla, this is a private meeting. And it's like she brushed past them and she made her case. She didn't go, he might be out there or whatever she was doing this episode, being like, how do you know that? It's like, no, she stood there and argued her case. And I don't know. You had said in our phone call after the episode, you said that you were really liking Elizabeth's performance as Hera. Elizabeth Winstead, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree with you in this scene totally. She should have definitely argued the point a lot more. Other than that though, I honestly I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead as an actress. But I think that she's been doing a pretty good job. I see her as the character Hera, but I
oh
think it's gonna take a little bit more. She's gonna need some more screen time.
yeah, no,
But so
for
far,
sure.
I've really liked the performance.
I think this episode I started feeling a little bit about it, but the week previous I was like, oh my god, this
Last
is
episode, I really liked it. The
the
banter with
second.
Chopper while she was flying,
That
man,
was great. That was
was
great. That didn't feel
amazing.
like an imitation. That just felt like its own natural thing.
Yeah,
And I just and the way it's not even all her. It's the way Hera was written in the scene where I'm like, this feels like season 1 Hera, where Ahsoka's like, go into hiding, or Fulcrum, go into hiding, like forget about Kanan, and she was like, oh okay, Fulcrum, it's not until like the next couple seasons where she starts really building a backbone the way she would
Yeah.
be like very cut and dry what she needed to with her ghost crew family. I feel like she didn't start doing that to like officials until later on. So yeah, I definitely want to see more of that Hera. So that was very lacking this episode where I'm like, what are you doing? Like, argue your case. Like, why are you just standing there being like, hey, my son is great? So that was a little frustrating. But um, oh yeah, and then speaking of her son, Jacen Syndulla, we finally got to see the little
Everybody thought
brat.
that he was gonna have normal hair again, but
I
nah,
I,
it
I
was
don't I
green.
don't I don't mind it. I mean,
I don't
like
either.
it would be funny to me if he was naturally brown hair like Kanan, but he was just dyeing it. He had Sabine dyeing it. He had Aunt Sabine dyeing it. Every now and then, that would be funny to me. I don't
That
know.
would be.
That would be funny. Like Jacen Syndulla can be representative of all the Ghost Crew characters, or
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That would when he was talking about Jedi and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, this is Kanan's kid. It was very sad.
Dude, I was thinking I would love for them to put the Jason Syndulla in the Skeleton Crew show.
Oh, hey, that
That's
would
what
be
I'm
cool.
saying. Because
That
isn't
would be
the
cool.
teacher a Jedi?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a Jedi. Yeah.
Another post Order
That could
66
be.
survivor.
Fuck, another one.
Oh no! All right, so, let me timestamp this because we swore again. Sorry, it's only Tuesday and it's already a very long week. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. Okay, so yeah, Jacen Syndulla. I thought he was cool. I thought he was cute. I mean, what else can you say? Um, he didn't look as jarring as the kid that they put him on the Ghost Crew, on the Ghost ship at the end of, or in the epilogue of season 4.
Yeah.
So that he didn't look dumb. He looked cool. He looked like a kid. I don't know. He looked like a little Boba Fett. It's like, all right, hey, what's up? um, yeah. So I very much like Jacen Tundula. I knew we were gonna see him eventually, so I was not surprised by him, especially when they softened us up earlier in the briefing room when they had mentioned him when Mon Mothma. But oh yeah, let's talk about Genevieve O'Reilly. I mean, we just seen her in Andor, and now getting to see her, you know, years and decades later, and or I don't know, actually not a decade, I was like years later, we get to see like the republic that she's was fighting for and all that, and now that she's leading, so I think that's really cool in contrast to the Mon Mothma that we see in Andor. So I'm just very happy that Genevieve O'Reilly, sorry, I have a very stuffed face with all sorts of congestion. uh, we get to see the actress O'Reilly go through, playing Mon Mothma first in Revenge of the Sith in that deleted scene, and then coming back and voicing her, or coming back and playing her in Rogue One, which was big, and then voicing her in Rebels and being so still enthusiastic about the character and stuff, and then us getting to see Mon Mothma and Hera interact was so crazy, and now we just saw them interact in live action, which is still crazy to me. And I like this moment so much, where Mon Mothma was asking Hera how everything was and stuff. It just felt
Hmm.
like the friendship that they established in that Rebels episode. Uh, I I'm thinking of it. I can't name it. Do you? No, I can't remember it. But is it secret weapon? No, that doesn't sound right. I don't know. Fuel? Nah, I don't know.
Secret. Oh wait,
Secret
Secret
cargo.
Cargo. Yeah.
Secret cargo.
Yep.
In the season 3 episode, and they have like this really like sit down moment in the cockpit of the ghost, and they're just sharing calf with each other or something like that, or some type of tea, and they're talking, and it just felt like a very personal moment for both characters and all that. So to see that relationship continue on screen, not only in animation form, I should say, not just sticking that in animation form, but seeing that transpire into live action. I thought that was great. Like I was just saying there, being like, oh my god, it's Mon Mothma, and I had just recently rewatched Rebels, so I'm just like, it's Mon Mothma. I don't know, like it's yeah, I don't know. So that was to me that was very cool, and until Senator Ziono had to cut in, but whatever. Very cool stuff. So yeah, I love Genevieve O'Reilly and her performance in Mon Mothma, and I loved her in Andor, and I can't wait to see her in Andor season 2. So that's gonna be great. Okay, so now let's go to some of the more like meat of the episode, and this was Sabine and Ahsoka going to Denab and going to see what was up, and Ahsoka has this. They have this sit down moment, and Ahsoka and Sabine are talking about the Force. We kind of talked about this last week on the podcast. Ari and I were kind of talking about like about how how jarring it was for us to learn that Sabine was possibly Force sensitive, and there was no indication of that before. But I had mentioned that Kanan had mentioned this cool line in Rebels how well, he was like, the Force resides in everyone, but Sabine is just stubborn to it. She has like her doors closed to it, and
Hmm.
he said this really cool line where it's like, oh, so she maybe could be. And then we learned in Rebels Recon covering that episode that Bendu and Sabine were going to have this like moment, this scene together. And ended up just being where Sabine is like kicking this damn rock, and then she walks away from it, and then it just starts moving, and it's Bendu. So I thought, I'm like, oh man, well that was a tease to that, because I don't think Bendu just appears to mortals, if you will, regular people that don't have the Force. I don't think he appears to them just out of nowhere, unless he has to, like he had to with Thrawn and stuff. But yeah, I don't has what have you thought of Sabine being Force sensitive and stuff? Where do you lie? Do you like what they're doing with that? Are you a little like, I mean, you already kind of said your thoughts earlier about another Mandalorian Jedi, but can you elaborate for us?
Nah, I like it. I like the mindset that the Force is actually in everybody, and that you just have to be open to like letting it in. It's a lot. I just always like that message where like anyone could be the hero. Kind
Mm,
of. There's a reason why I like the Spider-Verse movies. Is that's the whole theme. It's like
mm.
everyone can wear the mask. Everyone has the ability to use the Force, but you just have to be good-hearted enough to access it, and you have to focus on it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I really like that Sabine is going down this route.
yeah, as when I grew up and watching Star Wars, and to me some of it very much felt redundant and felt very self-contained, because it was like um it just felt like to me, and if I'm glad the sequels didn't go this way, where it was Luke's kid. Like everybody thought that Rey was related to Luke Skywalker and stuff, and I just thought it felt very small scale, where I'm like, okay, so you tell me the only people that have the Force in the galaxy that can be heroes is the bloodline of Anakin Skywalker, and it just has to be the dad, the son, and then, or Anakin, the offspring, and then their offspring, and then their offspring, and then their offspring. It seemed
Yeah.
boring to me. So once we started getting stories that I started reading, where there's multiple Jedi and they came from all different backgrounds and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely more Star Wars like to me. This is what I want Star Wars to be, is where the hero can be anyone. And then with Rebels, we got this like random kid Ezra that was like a street rat and all this, and I'm like, oh yeah, this definitely fits the bill of what I'm looking for, that I wanted. So I love that. Is exactly what you said. Anyone can be the hero. So yeah, Sabine, hell yeah, kick it. I'm totally wanting to see Sabine be like a Jedi apprentice and all that. I think that would be cool. Does she make it to? Now she's gonna go through that kind of similar path that Ezra went on in Rebels, where he was like, "Do I want to be a Jedi or do I want to be a soldier?" He just had like this back and forth. Sometimes when he would be training to be a rebel, and then days he'll be trained to be a Jedi. So he had like this conflict back and forth. So that would be cool if a story down the line, wherever, it'd be cool if Sabine being like, "Do I want to be a Mandalorian? Do I want to be a Jedi?" And you know what? I just want to say this series has to start answering some questions. Like we're 3 parts in. I want some. I want, I already feel like the show's very stuffed, but I just want one-liners. I need answers. Where was Sabine last season with all the Mandalorians?
Yeah.
Where was she? What was Ahsoka doing for the past 5 years, 6 years, 7 years,
You know,
8 years?
you know what I'm wondering is if we're even gonna see the world between worlds in this show.
Now that leads me to well, actually I want to talk some things before, but we'll get back to that because I want to ask you. I have a little questionnaire for you, and I want your
Okay, bet.
thoughts. So, but I just want to say we have how many episodes left? Four, five,
Five.
6, 7, 8, 5.
Five.
So yeah, we have 5 episodes left. So I need them to start answering some questions. So
The thing is that like when we look at the trailers, I think the only like next episode we're gonna see that duel between Ahsoka and Balin,
mm,
and that's
mhm.
like the last footage that we haven't seen after this episode. Like that covers all the trailers, I'm pretty sure.
I think we see. Oh, I guess this could be the next episode where Merrick and Ahsoka are fighting in the woods.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's all
Or
I can think of. Because you're right.
because I think episode five will finally like get to see the other side of the. I think at the end of episode four they'll make the jump to hyperspace.
Okay. I can't believe in the trailers they let us know that Anakin's in the show like that. Like that, it's so funny to me. They're like, we really need to market this. Like, don't show him, but use the audio.
Yeah,
That's so funny. I mean, we all knew he was gonna be in this anyway, but it's just like that's so. It's very unique marketing. Um.
it really is.
Uh. And also seeing some of the Purrgil in some of the trailers and stuff has been cool. So we finally got to see them here.
That was pretty cool.
I thought that was cool. We got that same theme that they got in Rebels. That was very touching. I was like, oh man, I'm back in Rebels. So that was really cool. Sabine's reaction to it was not so much. She was like wild, but then she was like sad about it. She's like, the last time I saw them was when Ezra disappeared, and I was like, oh, felt that. I was
Yeah.
like, felt that. Um, um, and also that do dogfight. Let's backtrack. What you think of the dogfight? We touched on it earlier,
I,
but
I
what you think
really
of the
liked
dogfight?
it.
You,
I really liked it.
yeah, it didn't
You're
feel so stiff as
mm-mm.
compared to some of the dogfights that we've seen in live action from Star Wars or Dave Filoni's first dogfight live action wise in Mandalorian season 1 episode 6. Is it where he opens up with that it's that one he directed. It opens up with that one bounty hunter chasing him, and he blows him to smithereens in the
Was that his episode?
I think yeah. With the what's
Okay,
that bounty hunter called
I don't
that we all
remember.
hate?
Oh,
Um,
to-
Toro Calican.
yeah,
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 there we go. In that episode, Dave Filoni has like a dogfight moment, and I'm like, don't do that again. Like it felt very stiff and all that, and I just I didn't like it at all. And I besides him using like World War II plane looking ships and sound effects.
he even like he mirrored. So you know that one shot in A New Hope where they're fighting the Tie Fighters and the Falcon, and the Tie Fighters are like angled and they're coming in like this way,
Uh-huh.
and they're all like exactly the same. They replicated that shot exactly, which was super cool.
Ooh, I'll have to check that out. I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
I'll have to see that. I mean, yeah, I besides Dave using those, I wasn't a fan of the way that ships look. I'm all for like let's create new ships and stuff because we get to Force Awakens and it's same old X-wings, it's same old TIE fighters, boring, right? And I love that
yeah.
they introduced the E-wing in here and like the Jedi shuttle. I'm like, it's already a used design, but they like just modified it in ways we didn't know. Where I'm like, oh my god, that looks cool. Where I love all these new ship designs and all that. So it's like, yeah, I appreciate the effort, but I was just like, oh, like it just feels like World War II inspired planes and all that, which is cool, but it just
I
didn't work for
honestly,
me.
I remember when the Lego set was announced for that ship, and I was like, that ship looks ugly. And then I actually liked it a lot more in the episode today.
The Jedi shuttle.
The fighters, the
Oh, the
World War
fighters.
II
Okay, okay.
fighters. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I mean, maybe I'll watch it again later and be like, oh my god, I like the ships this time. I didn't care for them. But dogfights I love. Mando season 3, the dogfight with the pirates I thought was great. The music was thrilling. I love Mando, and even Bo-Katan when she was in the Mandalorian Gauntlet and she was shooting around TIE fighters. I thought that was great as well. So another dogfight in the roster. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was thrilling. And we get some weird stuff that you'd only see in animation. You see Ahsoka get out of the ship and she starts slicing ships apart, and
I'm not gonna
some
lie, that was pretty cool.
it,
I
it
liked
was
it.
it felt a little corny at first because I'm like, oh, but then I don't know. It was pretty cool. I mean, why the enemy fighters didn't just like ignore her, blow the ship just blow the ship up? I don't know,
Yeah. Man, when
but
she's just floating in front of the cockpit.
I know that was funny. I enjoyed. Rosario has felt a bit stiff for me for the Ahsoka character, where we only get this type of posture from her. So you think
Yeah.
you can be a Jedi? It's like I haven't really. I think Rosario has done her best to bring that character to life, and it is hard, that transition from. I went on a whole spiel last week, but the whole transition from animation to live action of a very character that has sass and all that, it could come out as very. I don't like to use this word a lot, but it could come out as very cringeworthy when you try to replicate something like that. So I get it that it's a lot more. I don't want to. It's a lot more neutered. I'll just say that it's a lot more neutered. So it's a lot more. It's a lot more. So I get it. It's a bit tough, but it was just funny to see Rosario's Ahsoka in a bit more light, in a bit more of
Yeah.
a light tone. So that was funny. I'll take that. But okay, so to wrap up the episode, we learned that the hyperspace ring could be used to jump to another galaxy. So I thought that was very cool. I love that we could soon be traveling the galaxy. I thought Star Wars after Rise of Skywalker, the galaxy felt very, very, very small. And then that year we got the Thrawn Ascendancy novel, and I'm like, ooh, the unknown regions. We get to explore that, and it was like its own bureaucracy, its own lived-in world that I just felt was like a nice refresher away from the Skywalkers and all that. So I'm kind of like how it parallels our universe, where I'm like, man, Earth sucks sometimes, or if not most of the time. Like I want to go. Like, is there another galaxy with other life? Like I want to go see over there. So that's how I feel with this, where I'm like, let's go to another galaxy. Like, what's their version of the Clone Wars? What's their version of this? What's their version of the Death Star? Like, I want to know. So I'm very curious
You want to
into
hear
what
a
other
funny
galaxies
theory? You
say
want to
it.
hear a funny So I saw a TikTok the other day of this guy talking about how they're gonna go through hyperspace and they're gonna access the world between worlds. And this is how Dave Filoni's gonna make an alternate universe sequel trilogy.
Oh my. You know what? I'm not even. I'm sure. I'm sure you did watch that video, and I'm sure there are tons of people that out there believe that, because
It's
StarWars.com, they
so
released
wild, bro.
StarWars.com just released like a list of all the eras, and someone posted it, and obviously they didn't
Yeah.
get. There's all the eras, like Jedi Fallen Order falls in this category of the era and time period, Andor falls in this, and someone posted it, and obviously you can't get like the whole entire thing because it's a long list dating even back
Yeah.
to movies that haven't come out, and the whole sequel trilogy is missing. People are like, oh yeah, it's not canon, and I'm like, I'm like, it's still there. The Rise of the First Order symbol is right there. I mean, excuse me, people will jump up to whatever just to
Oh,
make sure that we know that Dave Filoni is on a different agenda, and we just have no clue. But now that leads me to some of the final thoughts. Aiden, I have a question there. If you will indulge with me,
yes.
indulge me by answering this. Okay, ready? Will we see uh, flashbacks to Rebels episodes in live action here?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? You don't
I
think we'll
don't think
get?
so.
All right. Will we see Kanan in a flashback, or it doesn't have to be from specifically a Rebels episode, but do you think we'll get to see a flashback of Kanan?
Definitely possible. I could see them bringing Freddie Prince Jr. to play him in live action.
Do you think Freddie Prinze Jr. would be down, or do you think he'd complain and be like, "No, I'm done with Star Wars. Like, there's
I
no."
think he'd do it.
You think he'd do it?
Yeah.
Fair enough. And we talked about this earlier, but my last question is, will we see the world between worlds?
I honestly don't know at this point. As of the moment, it doesn't look like it.
I hope not. I was in the room at Star Wars Celebration Chicago for the Rebels Remembered panel, and I chose to
Hmm.
go to Rebels Remembered panel over Jedi Fallen Order. They were going to debut a trailer, give out a cool poster. I was like, nah, I don't care. I'm going to the Rebels Remembered panel. And Dave Filoni, someone asked him about blah blah blah, world between worlds, blah blah blah, this, and he said, "Hey, World Between Worlds was a cool concept, but I don't, it's not a time traveling device, or it just served. It was a moment to serve Ezra's journey and do a really cool thing where Ahsoka was brought back and everything, but."
Hmm.
It's not this place where anyone can just go in and unlock. It's a very unique experience, and he basically said when the temple was destroyed on Lothal, the access to the world between worlds was cut off. Um, so I know I
Let's
need a
go.
I need to list watch that panel because I still have it written in my iPhone notes through iOS of where Dave said that and I wrote that down. I'm like, I'm gonna make that fact, and I never did because I thought no one cared. But now everyone seems to talk about nowadays when retconning, wanting to retcon stuff, and I'm like, I don't think it works like that, but you do you. But anyways, you can watch the Rebels Remembered panel yourself. It's on YouTube, and try to find it when they have the time for questions and stuff, and you'll hear Dave's reply. But yeah, I thought that was a good answer and stuff, and you can see Dave's commentary on the world between worlds in the Rebels Blu-rays and stuff. Like I think it's a really cool. I think it's a very unique approach that they did to something like that rather than just being like, oh, it's time travel and all this stuff. It feels very grounded, and it doesn't feel like a distant idea that you can't really like get a grasp of. You can get a grasp of a grasp or you understand it, but you don't need to know every single detail to be like, oh, how does it work? I feel like I don't really care about that. I just care about like, what was Ezra's experience in there? What was Ahsoka's experience? Okay, I got that. I'm out. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad because everyone when they released the first one of the first trailers of Ahsoka, everyone thought like that that starry background or thing that they were surrounded by was the world between worlds, and it was a map. It was a map. Fooled y'all. Dave Filoni knew what he was doing. It was a map.
I think the only instance where I'd want to see the world between worlds is where like we'd get a flashback kind of explaining what happened after we last saw Ahsoka there, with like her
Oh,
getting
for sure.
back and surviving. That's like the only kind of instance where I'd really want to see it.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah, that would work. That would work for me. I think in a flashback sense, I think that would be cool. But I think the door is shut on that because if if the gateway remained open, then what about Palpatine? Like, why didn't he try going back or did he? And it just opens up just other things. I'm just like, I feel like it was used in an appropriate sense and stuff, and you definitely felt like all these Star Wars, all the different stories and films and series come together for that one moment, and we've moved on. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very cool concept. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it again, but I'm also not rooting for it, and I'm not really asking to see it again. I'm like, it was perfect. Like it was a perfect, it was just perfect where it doesn't need to be touched again. So anyways, that's just my spiel on it. But again, this is not the Rebels postmortem show. This is the Ahsoka after show. Aiden, out of 10, well, what are your overall wrapping thoughts on this episode? What do you think is going to happen next week? Do you think anything big? And then give us your rating out of 10.
Uh, as I said, I think what we're gonna get is we're gonna get basically those two duels between Sabine and Shin and Ahsoka and Merrick, and then we'll get the duel between Ahsoka and Balin. And I think at the very end they'll do the jump to hyperspace, and then the next episode or episode 5 will start getting answers. But in terms of this episode, I really liked it. Nothing crazy really happened in it, but I think it was a good additional chapter into this overall story. We got a lot of cool moments, and it just felt like Star Wars. It's good to be watching Star Wars again.
Hell yeah, to that I say. Yeah, for me, I thought it was very grounded. I thought it felt like now it feels like a weekly, thing for me. It feels like I'm watching like a Star Wars production. I think it's produced well, and um, I'm very interested. I'm glued to where the story is going next. That's all I can say. I think this is an episode that I'll look back on and be like, oh, like once we get the full parts of the entire series, then I will look back and be like, this makes sense. This I think future episodes will just excel this one, and I think this one was solid and stuff, and that's why I'm going to give it in. Well, actually, next week I don't know what's going to happen next week. I very much fall into what Aiden saying. I don't think we'll see Thrawn yet. I don't think we'll see Ezra yet. I don't think we'll see them till like episode 5 or 6. But this episode I'll give in 7.5 out of 10. That's what
That's
I'll
what I
do.
was thinking.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. We're
Yeah.
on the same. Wavelength there. But everybody else, what would you guys give it? Let us know in the YouTube comments down below, or if you could comment on any podcast streaming service, that's cool. Speaking of that, make sure you follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. You can even listen to us on Audible. I know, crazy. I didn't. I was listening to A New Dawn the other day, and I'm like, can you look up on podcasts on here? I was like, oh, you can. We're on Audible. So that's pretty cool. So check us out wherever podcasts are available. If you're working out, you probably don't want to be opening up the YouTube app and all that. We could be straight in your ears through Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. And if you want to see our beautiful faces, check out the YouTube channel at Star Wars Exchange or something like that. The Star Wars Exchange. But make sure you check out our Instagram. Can you tell that I don't do this often? Check out the Instagram, the SW Exchange. And Aiden, where can people check out you? If you're not familiar with Darth Deacon, it's a username. It's an identity. It's a way of life for Aiden here. It's an Instagram account. And
Yes.
tell us where people can find you. And are you doing anything special?
Not at the moment. I'm trying to get kind of back into normal posting schedule. I think I might be starting up a podcast soon, probably later in the year.
Oh,
So keep an eye out for that.
I'm
I'm very
producing it.
excited for it.
No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Yep. Part of the All Star Wars network. But
Just like
yeah,
just like the world between worlds is dead. I'm sorry.
but yeah, check me out on Instagram at Darth.Deacon. And thank you so much, Mike, for having me on the show.
No, thank you for coming on. He stepped up to the plate and helped us dearly, and he's a dear friend of mine. And we actually got to meet in April this past year for the first time of being like buddies since like 2018, 2017.
Yeah,
So 18, 19, 20, 21,
it's been a
22,
while.
23, 6 years. It took us
Yep.
6 years to meet, but it was such a good time, and I'm gonna get to see your face soon.
Very
So
soon.
I'm very excited. So good times ahead. And for me, you guys can follow me all_Star Wars. And until next week, may the force be with you. See you next time. Adios. Stay Purgle-less. Stay Purgle. Oh wait, no.
Stay
I know my saying. No puffer pig in this episode, sadly. There we go. Adios.